Hey, what's up, guys? Today I have a question for you. Why do we love vintage watches? So, not only just all vintage watches, we love Tag Heuer vintage watches, we love Omega Seamasters vintage, we love some vintage Cartier tanks and Santos. We love Rolex vintage watches. And specifically, I'm going to talk about the Rolex watches, vintage Rolex watches here in this video, because what do we like about them? Yes, you're going to tell me, yeah, if you buy a vintage Rolex watch, maybe you're going to, well, in a good price, maybe you can sell it after for a good price, for a good profit. But that's what I am not looking for in a vintage watch. That is not what I like about vintage watches. I like Rolex vintage watches because they are actually very, very cool. I have a new Air-King precision vintage watch from, well, it's kind of a neo vintage because it's from 2003, but it just actually looks super close to the vintage watches from the 70s. It has the same, almost the same bracelet. It has the same dials, the dial style, and it's just beautiful. And what I love about that watch is that watch has the perfect weight to it, the perfect feeling on the wrist, and the perfect, the perfect patina on the watch, the perfect kind of, the warmth feeling that you have on that watch when you're wearing that watches. And I do really like that. For most of the people right now, new 36mm watches from Rolex, they say that they are very small for their wrists. But then give them a vintage Rolex watch and they are going to say that it is perfect, that 34mm does not feel like 34mm. So what are we talking here? Is the 34mm more appealing on vintage watches than in new watches? And the answer is maybe yes. Because you relate to new watches with 40mm and up, not 40mm down. You relate because that's the way that the industry make it right now. Now, 39mm and down are kind of popular right now, but 34 for a man is, for us, is just very dainty. But what does a Rolex or a Seamaster vintage from Omega have when you put them on? They are 34mm, 35mm, but what do they have? First of all, the Omega is all dial, so that's why the watch does not feel that small, and you kind of accept it because you have a vintage watch. That is what they used back in the day, 34, 35mm watches, not even 36. 36 was too big. So with vintage watches from Rolex, that they are 34mm, especially the Air-King and the Oyster Perpetual, maybe the Date or just Oyster Perpetual, they are 34mm. But the thing is that they wear a bit bigger. I'm going to show you guys a picture side by side with my 36mm Explorer, the new one, and my Air-King that is 34mm. You can actually see the size comparison. You can actually see where the Explorer is a bit bigger than the Air-King, but they kind of feel the same. And it is because the Explorer went the vintage route, that the vintage Rolex watches were 19mm in lock-to-lock. Only maybe the Explorer was 20mm. So because it was 36, but back in the day, 34 had a 19mm strap, and nobody was changing straps. That's why nobody complains that vintage watches, and everybody loves vintage Rolex watches and they love wearing them. They don't complain that they are 19mm, but here comes the 36mm with 19mm lock-to-lock strap bracelet, and everyone is like losing their heads, like it's 19mm. Oh my god, I can't use it with a NATO. Come on, you can find NATOs of 19mm. Just go to Crown Buckle and then you have it. You have a 19mm, very incredible, cool, and very well made straps. So today I am wearing the Tag Heuer Night Diver. This is the Acurator, 43 millimeters in diameter, all lume dial, incredible watch. For me, this is a great alternative to the Seamaster Professional. Obviously, talking about secondhand prices. This watch is just amazing. It's 300 meters of water resistant. It has a incredible 60 click bezel. It is ceramic and it is a matte ceramic. You have sapphire crystal with a magnifying date that nobody or not too many people like. The watch does not wear that big, that 43 millimeters. It's just kind of like 42. And it's just because the case is not PVD, it's DLC, so that's nice. I have had this watch for a year and I have not seen any scratches at all on my watch. It's just incredible. It keeps impeccable. I really like the deploying clasp that you can adjust it here pretty easy, as you can see, and then you just put it on again. And that is a great watch. I really love this. It's for me a weekend watch, a everyday watch also, because the rubber strap is incredible. You can just take it out every single day and then put it on again. You don't have to like do the strap again like the Omega Seamaster. So this is a great alternative, and the lume on the dial is just amazing. I really like this watch. So talking about the vintage watches, I have here my Rolex Air-King. So this is the Rolex Air-King that I've been talking about, and it's just amazing. I really like this vintage style watch. But as you can see, maybe I'm going to show it to you on my wrist. The watch just feels and looks amazing. My wrist is 6.8 inches in diameter, and it just wears incredible. I really like the feeling of the watch. I don't know if all stainless steel and all solid for me does it right now, because I feel sometimes kind of overwhelmed by every day using a watch and feeling it on the wrist, and maybe I just got tired and maybe I just want to use a Casio or a Moonswatch that they are just basically weightless to feel much more comfortable, especially in the warmer months. But this one that it is all stainless steel, it just feels incredible on the wrist, and it feels and slides nice with my skin here. And you have this all many micro adjustments here that they are very useful. The fact that the strap or the bracelet is, yeah, you can see this, there's a lot of movement here, but the thing is that I love that the center links are hollow, because it just brings this weight to the watch, this weightlessness to the watch, very nice. And it just works. It works incredible. I am looking at this watch and I really like it, even though it's 34 millimeters. The case is really well made, because you can see the Oyster case is it has always been like the feel of the case a bit bigger, because the dials are a bit bigger than normal for a 34 millimeter. So that's why they feel kind of like 35, 36, but they actually feel different from one another, like the Rolex Explorer 36 and this one. This one obviously is a bit small. It has a smaller log, it has a smaller dial, it has a smaller case, a smaller crown even. In the 36, it has a bigger crown, bigger dial, and kind of the same shape of the Oyster case, and almost the same dimensions, because the 36 millimeter now is 35.3, something like that. So why do we love vintage watches? They bring us kind of this nostalgic feeling to them, and actually for me, vintage watches are way much better than newer watches. I buy newer watches because I know that the movements are with the latest technology, and maybe they are going to last so much more than this ones. But sometimes I really appreciate a good vintage watch. I really appreciate that the watch has been like around like 60 years, maybe, talking about Omega Seamasters, and they are just running perfectly. I had a Constellation, an Omega Constellation, vintage Constellation, Incredible watch, beautiful. It was a 35mm watch, and the movement was impeccable, and it was running very nice. I unfortunately sold that watch to buy more watches and enjoy other watches too. But I stumble across that every single time. I really miss some vintage watches here. First of all, because of the weight, because of the nostalgic feeling that they give you, that warmth that you have seeing the watch. That this little I don't know, this little watch was made a long time ago and it's just working fine. That gives you some kind of something else. You see, you have something that has lasted like 20, 30, 50 years and is still running. So that's why you kind of appreciate it more. And maybe that's why we love vintage watches. Just the quirkiness and the things that made them have very so cool character here. The patina on the dial that this one doesn't have, but it has a very cool kind of silvery goldish tone dial that it just goes incredible with the bracelet and the case that are stainless steel. This is not sapphire crystal. Maybe this is just a crystal, like a hardlet crystal or something like that. I don't know if it was replaced. I didn't indicate too much because this was a pretty nice price for the watch. And I really dig a vintage Rolex watch, as I dig a vintage Tudor or a vintage Omega. But yeah, that's what I think that we love about vintage watches. And I actually love more vintage watches than newer watches. It's just the sizes and the weight. You cannot feel this watch every single day that you are wearing it. It's very, very comfortable, and it actually goes very well with my style and goes very well with your kind of life, you know. So nowadays, newer watches they come with bigger cases like this one and bolder designs and so much crispiness on the watches. But the thing is that the imperfect things, they just appeal much more to me. You have something that is not perfect. It's actually kind of like you, like a person. Persons or people are not that perfect. There's nobody that is perfect. So you have some flaws, and that's why we like other people, and we complement each other with friends and maybe with family or maybe with your spouse or whatever. And this is what I like about vintage watches, that they are not perfect. They have imperfections, and maybe you can complain about them, but I do really like that it isn't a perfect watch, because a perfect watch just seems too perfect and too clean. They don't have a lot of character by themselves. They actually feel, every single watch feels actually the same. But when you talk about vintage watches and you put them side by side, even though maybe it's the same watch, they are very different, because the patina on the dial, maybe the scratches, maybe it has a different strap, it is from a different year, I don't know. But the quirkiness of those watches and the imperfections make these watches very, very attractive. And putting aside the prices of Rolexes and maybe Omegas and maybe Tag Heuers and Tudors, putting aside that kind of stuff, because I don't want to indicate more in prices, because yeah, you can like a vintage watch because maybe you purchase this and you can do a profit, sell them for a profit. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the feeling and the sensation that you have wearing a incredible vintage watch, and the quirkiness and the imperfections that makes the watch maybe perfect. Thank you guys for watching. That's my opinion on vintage watches. What's your opinion about vintage watches? Do you like vintage Rolexes or Omegas or Tudor? Let me know in the comments down below, and help me grow this channel. If you like and subscribe, it just goes a long way. And I want to thank you guys for, it's been incredible. It's been amazing, this journey, this past year that I've been doing these reviews of watches and my videos in general. And your response has been incredible. So thank you guys for watching, and yeah, remember to subscribe, like, and comment down below. It just really helps to the channel. If you don't want, doesn't matter. I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you guys for watching. I am Andy, and I'll be here spending time watching time.